Hey guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Tim.
And this is the Board Game Rundown, and we are live from our basements because we cover games from top to bottom. That's right, gank from Tim, still stealing it. And when Dan gets here, from bottom to top.
Yeah, because it's like you always wipe from front to back, right? So it's kind of the same thing.
It is very, very similar.
It's the same methodology there.
It is. So Tim, we're here because it's Wednesday and it's wait, no, hold on. It's not Wednesday, Tim, is it?
No.
Okay,
no,
okay.
I've been sick, it's the season for giving. Season for giving, right? And so like everybody's been giving all of their illnesses to everybody else.
I haven't given it to you because I've been nowhere near you. Continue.
Right. No, it is what it is. I think my kids had it, like it went through my work, like my coworkers had it.
And you definitely sound more rough than you did last time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And now yesterday I would not have even, or even Wednesday for that matter, would not have happened. I'm feeling way better.
Thanks for tuning in again.
I was laughing at Ginger's comment.
Thanks, John. I have kind of been napping on and off. I've, this is this has been a day of not going anywhere, just basically hunkering down and trying to survive the blizzard of 2022.
Yeah, we have made it. You know what though? I legit was concerned my power was going to go out with the winds because the winds have been crazy. The winds have been nuts.
And the winds have been crazy. I'll give you that. But thank you for the compliment, Jonathan. I appreciate that.
And I don't know where everybody lives, right? I mean, I know where Jonathan lives, and I'm coming for you. No,
which is weird.
I don't know where everybody lives, but -2 degrees here before wind chill. -2 degrees. So everybody, please stay warm, be safe, do what you got to do. Mike's being a smart aleck, but guess what? There was a huge car accident not far from here, right?
True.
And somebody got killed on the toll road because they got out of their car and then they got hit. So crazy stuff's happening. So everybody's got to be safe, and
right. So
not saying don't panic, don't panic buy, don't do that, be a reasonable human being in the Christmas time, but also,
yeah, that's true. It also doesn't mean that you have to go to your local big box store and buy 15 loaves of bread, all the canned goods.
Hey, they intend to eat a lot of French toast over the next 2 days.
Yeah, it's
-8 in Cincy.
It's like 0 here with I don't know, -30 wind chill or something.
Yeah.
I just know. Apologies again. We're both getting over stuff. I got a cough drop, but it's just gonna happen throughout the night. But yeah, I went out in the garage a couple times, and I'm like, why did I do that?
Mm-hmm.
Hours later, still cutting glass.
Right.
So. Just very, very cold out there. But as far as all the weather channels are like, oh, you're going to get between a foot and 18 inches. Let's go ahead and cue that. Snow. Speaking of 18 inches,
I can't hear anything.
Dan can't hear
bummer.
anything.
Well, I had to get them in to, I guess, fully see.
That's all right.
But he says he has no audio at the moment.
Let's just watch Dan work his magic.
I guess we watch him work his magic. What? Correct. So, well, I guess he can't hear me ask if he's hunkering down and surviving the blizzard of 2022.
Hey, I'm going to be weird real quick. Somebody just rang my doorbell. I'm going to
just right back.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really weird. I got a ring doorbell and I got to go
something good.
Right?
Dan, still no audio. Is that what we're understanding? It sure seems that way. So, hello, everybody. This is our Friday night stream. Always kind of a crapshoot on how many of us that you will get. I again have been hunkering down and surviving the blizzard of 2022. And I knew, hey, if Tim was up for a stream, I would be up for a stream. I have not left the house. Yeah, the boss said we're not going to be open today, and it wasn't nearly as bad as they said it would be. It is cold, but I mean, yeah, the snowfall's been disappointing. So hello, Andrew. I'm glad you're here. Since you said you were going to come in and urinate on the Christmas cheer, troll the Christmas lovers, as he said it. So I'm glad that we'll get that opportunity. Dan, I suppose, is still flying solo. Dan, he's not going to be able to hear me. He should.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. So
it's a little glitched, but I can, it won't work unless I tell my phone to use my Bluetooth headset, which I'm not using. And now it's working.
Nice.
So
yes, we do hear you. So so Dan, I'll go ahead and ask again, did you have to work today?
Yes.
Oh wow. So that means you were out there in the elements braving the blizzard of 2022?
That's correct.
Yeah, wow. So how did you manage? Please tell us. I haven't left the house. All the weather people said you're an absolute moron if you leave the house today. Not really, but you're also an absolute moron if you don't buy up everything within 10 miles of, every local grocery store. So anyway.
I actually didn't find it that bad. I got a ride to work and a ride home. Everything seemed fine. Temperature sucks, sure, but it's whatever. It's probably the coldest I've had in a very long time since I can remember. But it was fine.
It was cold as hell, but we only got maybe 4 inches, and there's drafts or drifts in some spots, but it's not bad at all. It doesn't look like. So yeah, it's just funny how, I'm driving by a big box store yesterday on the way home from work, and I'm like, should I stop? And I look at the parking lot and it's 90% full. I'm like, no. I am not an idiot. I've got all I need. In fact, probably by Saturday, I'll be fine to drive anyway. And here we are. Right. It was supposed to snow for 3 days in a row. You were going to get 1.5 feet of snow. No. It hasn't snowed all day today at all.
Yeah.
Not once.
Well, and next weekend it's supposed to be all the way back up to almost 50 from what I see.
Yeah, we're going to get a 50-degree temperature change. So we're going to be dealing with slush puddles everywhere for a week. So, well, I'll wait for Tim to get into our topic.
What's he doing?
The doorbell rang. So I guess we're live reenacting an episode of Home Alone. That's fine. I didn't realize.
Mysterious.
That. Yeah.
I wanted to point out randomly, because why not? I've talked recently about how Doom Imperium might be one of the best games ever made. I just found, I was going through some stuff, and I just found something I got at Gen Con that I forgot about. I am not a pin guy at all. I do not like pins. I'm not into the whole I have 30,000 pins on my backpack thing. That's just not me. I've never been a pin guy. But at Gen Con, they were giving away this pin, and it is one of the most pretty pins I've ever seen.
Oh,
It's the victory point marker for Dune Imperium. It's Dune, and it's 2 moons or whatever it is, or 2 suns. I don't remember what Dune has. Probably 2 suns because it's the hot-ass fucking planet.
That's true.
But I think that pin is gorgeous. As someone who just doesn't like pins, I'm gonna put this on something. I love the look of that victory point marker.
You can put it on my backpack.
Yeah, am I calling you out, Tim, by saying I'm not into the whole pins on backpacks thing?
I'm not sensitive about it.
Yeah.
He feels very called out.
I'm glad Dan has audio.
Tim, I just wanted to point out I put on a very Christmassy sweater today. You did not. Is this a Christmas episode? Since it's December 23rd?
I mean, I figured we might end up doing one like on or right after Christmas. So
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know about all of us. I got to go to work the next day. It sucks
see,
when
I have
Christmas is on Sunday.
Monday is my observed day off. I had today off because of the weather, and that I'm grateful because I do have like a 45-minute drive to work.
So
and
you
in the
get
road,
Monday off.
Yeah, and the road conditions today, it would have been an hour and a half drive minimum to get to work. So
Well, you can observe these nuts because I got to go back to work Monday. So,
but with the way I was feeling, I would have
Dan's
traded.
not impressed.
I would have traded today for Monday for sure. With the way I was feeling,
Yeah.
so I'll be feeling a lot better by Monday, I'm sure. Oh, Andrew's there. That must be. Oh, it's Andrew. That was. He said he was ringing my doorbell. It was my neighbor from down the street. They changed. Sometimes they get our packages and we get their packages, and apparently he realized we ran a package down to their house like last week. They came to our house, and I think he realized that it's been happening, and so they're probably expecting more packages. So like tomorrow, if we get a bunch of packages that aren't ours, we know where they go.
Open them and tell them what they are.
Yeah, like, hey, they're probably the people that got my Frosthaven, and then initially, and
right.
I had to wait a week. But and just so you guys know, I haven't officially received confirmation from Millman, our Frosthaven winner, but the tracking showed that has already been delivered. So
nice.
So
wow.
they have
Christmas.
Frosthaven before Christmas. So Mark made that happen. So Mark from Fantasy Games, kudos to you, great. Man. That was awesome that you did that. It was an amazing thing.
That was an amazing thing that you did, Mark. I just want to say that's awesome. Thank you very much. We couldn't do it without you. Other things that Tim was going to say.
Thanks for
Tim was so ecstatic to thank you for doing that.
Yeah. No, it was just awesome, right? What a good time.
It was.
It was fun to see all the comments on that thing. And yeah, loved it.
And as far as we know, weren't we the first channel to give away Frosthaven?
I mean, first channel of any note.
But we were the first ones to do it, though, right?
I think we were. I don't know of anybody else that was giving a Frosthaven away. Unless
have you seen any other channel do that? Because that would be kind of like ripping our style. If someone else did that.
Dan, be nice, Dan.
No, but I was just saying we were the first ones to do that, as far as I know. So that's really cool. I'm happy our channel was able to give away Frosthaven.
Exactly.
So we are gathered here on surviving the blizzard of 2022, and we were going to talk about some games, were we not?
Okay.
Games? All right. Well, guys, it was fun. I used to be Mike.
No. Dan and I are here to talk about college football and the transfer portal and everything, and NIL and all that stuff.
And
it may be a game to you.
Also was messaging me and saying he wanted to talk about how this young Pacers team has really been a surprise early this season, and they've been playing well and beating good teams. So I'm glad that those are things that he wanted to talk about. Totally his ideas. Weird. Wow, that's weird. That's really cool.
Weird.
I'm glad. But it's
unfair of us to make a laugh at an inside joke like that, because obviously Jonathan probably wouldn't know. That's what we're saying, Jonathan.
We did get one of those as well, so let's go ahead and it's about right on time. We'll go ahead and get number 2 in there, I'm sure. But yeah, so this is Friday, guys, and last I checked, that means it's Flashback Friday. So I had the idea of talking about games that we used to play, like when we first got into the hobby. So today we are going to talk about our top 5 games that we played when we first got into the hobby. Guys, what I wanted to do, at least I hope you guys dive into it a little bit, is kind of maybe when you got started, who you were gaming with. This was somebody else's copy, a game you bought. I was going to talk about some experiences I had. One of them isn't even that good, but it makes a great story. So anything you guys want to say regarding that?
I mean, look, I could go back to the 90s. I decided to start
whoa.
with, yeah, maybe
you can
the
start
late
wherever
80s.
you want. These are, I didn't make the rules.
My list is going to start when I got into the hobby as it is now. So my list starts in like 2010, 2011.
Okay, Dan, anything? I'll just address it when we.
Dan wasn't born then, so
correct. He was a young tadpole.
So same thing for me, right? I started when the modern age of gaming, right? Like obviously I could talk about when I was a kid and I played Stratego and Axis and Allies and that stuff, but that was just a whole different era, and that wasn't me into the hobby, right? That was me playing games with my family and having fun. So I don't have the years. I could have looked that up, but yeah, mine was when I got back into the hobby and I realized it all started actually with Dice Tower. That's part of why I give them so much credit, is because they are the ones that got me into the hobby. I used to watch them, their reviews, their top 10, stuff like that, and I saw what the gaming hobby had become and how it had improved, and I picked up some games excuse me, off their recommendations, and I was just like, holy crap, this is what gaming can be now. Like it just kind of blew my mind at how much it had changed. And as far as the person, the people and everything, obviously family, relationship stuff at that time, but also Levi was a gigantic part of me getting into the hobby. Levi and I kind of both got into the hobby at the same time. Subscribers and stuff here don't really know Levi, but they've heard his name thrown around. He's been on the show
a few times way back in the old days.
Yeah. And we just both kind of decided to get into the hobby at the same time. And for a while, we went 50-50 on every board game. Every single one. We would just go 50-50, and we just built a gigantic collection together out of local game stores, the Griffin and stuff like that. And yeah, I definitely have an easy 5 because it's the 5 games I used to always talk about. They're the 5 games that got me into the hobby. In the modern hobby, and I can probably list some honorable mentions, but I definitely have like a strong 5 for sure.
Oh yeah, I have a very strong 5, and then I've got like an honorable mention that was almost like a should have been an indicator of things to come, because sort of like Dan was talking about, I didn't have a Levi per se, but Patrick and Julia got me into the hobby the way that it is now. I had friends, obviously, like Bob and I were in a D&D group for years before the board game hobby really like kicked in the way that it is now, as we know it. But and then once I started getting into the hobby, and then I started dragging Bob over to play games, like, Bobby, you got to see this stuff, man. This is really cool. And then Bob, feet first, right? And and it's been no looking back ever since. So
yeah, so I'm crazy about logging stuff, and I started logging plays and even my collection pretty early as I got into the hobby. So it's Uncle Mo, who I've talked about before. He's like my older brother. He's only 3 years older than me. So he sold a bunch of his Yu-Gi-Oh cards that were worth a lot of money and just bought some board games that some other guys showed him, and started showing them to me. I don't want to spoil some of those, but some of those will be on this list. And that was really, I want to say like 2012, because I have some logged plays from that year, but really they didn't start till 2013. And then I see some of my own purchased games that I start playing at the end of 2013, 2014. So about 10 years now. As far as like YouTubers that influenced me a lot, it was actually Rado. I watched a lot of Rado run-throughs. I kind of liked how he showed it from, your own personal perspective and insight on, how a turn gets processed in your brain and stuff. So, and he actually got me onto a specific designer that you guys will not be surprised by when it gets mentioned fairly high in this list. So,
Adam Kopinski.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
but...
it's Steve Jackson. It's his love of all things Munchkin. No, well, it's funny because you talk about a YouTuber or, like a show that got you in. It would have been the Will Wheaton tabletop. Like,
watch some of those as well.
And fun. I don't like love or hate Will Wheaton, but I did like his guests, more often than not, and one of the things that I liked about his show was like kind of just how it felt like they were all just friends. They're having a good time. And so when working on our show, I mean, that's what I wanted to do, not saying we copied him, but it's like, no, that looks like fun. Let's have fun with this. Yes, it is work sometimes, but at the same time,
Tim, you have fun with this?
I know it's weird. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I saw Jonathan point that out too. Obviously, shout out to Geek and Sundry's tabletop show with Will Wheaton. I definitely watched the hell out of that too. I don't know. I feel like Dice Tower were the ones helping me make the decisions.
Sure.
Well, Will Wheaton was just pure entertainment to me.
No,
I think
100%. But I don't think I knew or was aware of reviewer channels as like a concept at that point in time.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So like, I was not even aware that Dice Tower existed until then. I started looking up board game podcasts, and then I'm like, oh, okay, Dice Tower. And then it's like, oh, it's a YouTube thing. And really, honestly, until we started doing the show, and Dan can attest to this, like I hardly watched anything on YouTube unless I was looking up like clips from something. Like I never looked on YouTube for shows and for content. It was like, what was that SNL bit from 20 years ago? Like I find that on YouTube. Like, here's this funny thing, that I want to show my friends. So, once we started doing the show and I started looking at more YouTube channels and things like that. Yeah. I mean, obviously Dice Tower is huge, and I would say with them, for me, it's like mileage may vary. I have a great time watching them sometimes. And sometimes I'm like, why doesn't Tom Vassell like to have fun? And sometimes it's like, oh, he does like,
Another big one that I've been watching for a while. Shut Up and Sit Down.
Oh, I love that.
Love that. I mean, they are very entertaining. I think their sense of humor is great. So I think they're a great mix of entertainment and good reviews. And I bought games based on their suggestions and hit home runs. So yeah, that's another big one for me too.
I mentioned them recently with Undaunted Stalingrad. They're the ones that got me super excited for that. Obviously, they're an amazing channel. They're hilarious. The thing that I actually like about them most is their extremely nonchalant approach to reviews. I love that it's just is just walking around his house and then he's like leaning on his table and you can just see the reflection of the camera like behind him and just that nonchalant but like
oh my gosh, it feels so natural.
Like I really like
so natural. They just nobody does it like them. Like for what they do, nobody does it like them. It's amazing.
So, that being said, I guess, Tim, are you drinking a drink on this Flashback Friday?
I'm drinking some straight up Coca-Cola because I'm sick. I got backup Mountain Dew because I need caffeine.
Help your sickness, right?
And then I got some water.
There you go. Gotta have that.
I got some vitamin C drops.
Dan, what do you have at your disposal tonight?
Oh, well, I bought stuff ahead of time. I thought we were going to do this for Sassafras Saturday. So I accidentally bought stuff ahead of time. So I have root beer.
Nice.
But whoops, Friday instead.
I will be drinking some more Jack Daniel's rye, so let's go ahead and get that out of the way. Not much
Intervention
though.
Friday.
I'm still
no
trying
That's
to.
what we call it.
I'm still getting over this stuff. There's just no reason for me to get crazy. I have some flavored water over here, which I'll be drinking a lot of to keep that throat moisturized. Everybody loves that word, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
I thought everybody loved that word.
It's better than damp.
Yeah. Damp is also
that's
similar
another great
to
word.
Dan, which
It
is
is
an uncomfortable word.
That's
Damp
true.
Danny. Okay, so guys, I guess we'll go ahead and jump into our top 5 here. Hey, there's Rob. Yeah, that's right. We got some flavored water Friday. I like it. We've got a lovely tangerine flavor is what we've got.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's actually vitamin enhanced, with electrolytes. So that's good. Gotta stay hydrated during these winters and surviving the blizzard of 2022.
Calm down with that. It's fine. Listen, it's important that people stay home and stay off the roads because idiots get into accidents and then people get killed because they don't know how to drive because they can't behave responsibly. So it's better to just stay home.
I'm already coughing so savagely. I'm glad my
the great governor of Minnesota once said, "You can't legislate for idiots," and that is Jesse Ventura.
Jesse Ventura. Jesse the body.
That's right.
I'm a big fan of Mio Orange Vanilla. It's one of the best things ever.
It does. Good catch, fine sir. Good catch.
But this is a good second place.
Oh, is that that's berry?
Berry grape.
Excellent.
Pretty good. So my number 5.
I guess let's go a different direction this time. We'll start with Dan, and then we'll go counterclockwise to Tim. So again, Dan, if you want to throw any prefaces in there, but I guess you're going to start us off with number 5. I knew I'd get him.
I said, and then it cut. So yeah, ranking these is weird because I'll tell you that it's not really me ranking them as much as I like them, and it's not even me ranking like I don't even really play any of them anymore. It's not that I dislike them. They're just, they're one of 250 games or whatever, and it's just hard to get them to the table. But these are just the 5 games that I played earliest. And actually, the one I'm going to start with, number 5, is actually the reason I was late tonight, is because I was playing it with my family. And it's the only game that I've had so far for a stream where I actually have a show and tell. Because it's so small. And that is this boy, Dead Man's Draw. I don't even know why I picked it up. I don't think this one was covered on Dice Tower. I actually think this was just once I started a collection, like once I started 3 games, 4 games, I just saw this and it was so cheap. And I liked the theme and I liked the idea that I just picked it up. This was one of my first blind buys. I hadn't seen anyone do a video on it or anything. And it's just a fantastic little push your luck card game. Literally the entire game. I just love having a show and tell, so I'm going to go kind of in depth on this one. Basically, the whole game is you have cards that look like this. Mm-hmm. They have numbers and suits. Point the wrong way. They have numbers and suits. And on your turn, you flip the top card of the deck over, and you do what its ability is. So for this one, the Kraken says 2 more cards must enter play. So I draw the next card. Okay, the next card is a treasure chest. The treasure chest doesn't have a special ability, so I have to draw another card. That is a sword. That now fulfills the Kraken's ability, and the sword ability is I steal a card from someone else. And then I just keep going, and I keep adding cards until I bust. And if I wind up busting, this is a really good turn. And if I wind up busting, so there's 2 cannons. If you bust, you lose everything. All these go away. If you don't bust, if you end your turn whenever you want and you end early, you take all the cards and it's like set collection. You put them in all their separate piles. So if I have 2 cannons here, I put the more expensive one on top of the cheaper one, and that's my end game. And that's my end game points if I end the game with this stack. The 5 doesn't mean anything, but if my 6 gets destroyed, I'm really only losing 1 point. You know, for losing that 6 cannons, going from a 6 to a 5. Once the deck runs out, the game ends, and whoever has the most points wins. That's the whole game. One of the things that's really fascinating about this game, though, is that you have an entire little stack of cards that just changes how the game works. So, like, usually you bust on the suits and not the numbers, right? So, like, 2 swords will bust. But there's a card in here that just says, okay, well, now suits don't matter and you bust on numbers. You can't have 2 of the same numbers. And it just changes how you play the game, you know? This one here is -5 points for each empty suit stack. So this one just says you want every suit, at least one of every suit in the game. Like, those just change the game. And then there's also a giant stack of asymmetric, extremely powerful abilities too, all in this little cheap game. So, like, one of them that is just really easy to explain is like, so the cannon is just pick an enemy suit stack and destroy the top card off that stack, right? That's what the cannon does. And it goes to discard pile. There's a unique asymmetric ability in here that just says, now when you use a cannon, it destroys that person's entire suit stack. So if they have 7 cards in that suit stack, they're all gone. Like, that is so powerful. It's insane. And it's just that everyone just gets in super asymmetric ability. It's just a fantastic little card game. And I used to play this every other day, probably when I first got into the hobby. I loved this game. It's good at 2 people. It's good at 5 people. You can't go too much higher than that because then you just run out of the deck too fast before you can even go. But it's good at all player counts. It's just a really good game. And that's Dead Man's Draw.
Man, I love that game. It is so good.
I've played that one a few times as well when I was getting into the hobby. I never did get a copy, though, so it's been a long time since I played that.
Wow, you hate it. We get it. Thanks.
Right. Yep.
Jeez,
correct.
Good God. Dan hates everything. I mean, Mike
Let's
hates
get it out of the way.
I'm so used to being Dan that hates everything.
Yeah, I know.
No, is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay. So my list is based on the games. This is literally the first 5 games that I owned once I started getting into the hobby, and I listed them, like Dan said, not necessarily in order of like, oh, these are my favorite from top to bottom, but these are the ones that literally I remember playing first, second, third, fourth, fifth, right? So my number 5 is the one I played first, and I'm gonna go all the way down to my number 1 would be my most recent one. I own all but one of these games now. I had owned all 5 of them at one point in time, but I did trade one because. But my number 5 is a game. It's really funny. Mike talks about funny stories. Is we played this game at my sister's. I was like, oh wow, this is pretty cool. And then my sister got it for me for Christmas, and my wife got it for me for Christmas. So I had to return one. But that is Settlers of Catan. So in 2011,
So, as Tim was saying, Settlers of Catan, that's actually a game I didn't play until I had already been into the hobby for a while, Tim. Yeah, I didn't play Catan for a while. It was fairly recent compared to like last 3 or 4 years.
What's that? I missed it because I was,
Yes. Catan, I didn't play for the first time until like 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, right on.
Me too.
Yeah. Now,
I actually think that I played Catan, Game of Thrones Catan, and Starfare's Catan all in the same year for the first time.
Oh, wow. So that would have been with me when we first started the show.
Yeah.
No, so Settlers was really neat to me. I appreciated the strategy. I know, like, blah, blah, blah. Everybody, everybody's over Settlers, and that's fine. I still find it to be enjoyable, but there are much better versions that I would rather play. But I still have my version of Settlers. I think I will probably always have it just because it was one of the first games that I got in this hobby, like when I got into the hobby proper. Obviously, yeah, I'd rather play Starfarers or the Game of Thrones version, 100%. But no, man, there's no shame in my love for OG Settlers.
I enjoy it quite a bit. I have no shame in that whatsoever. I enjoy Catan. I enjoyed Game of Thrones Catan. I can't wait to play Starfarers.
Oh, Starfarers is good.
Yeah, so definitely no hate for me. Okay, so I ended up actually going with games that I played the most when I started in the hobby. And I pretty much have all of the plays logged. So I'm doing all of these in order of how much I played them specifically. This is a game I actually still to this day don't own, but I happen to be borrowing it from Mo. I still haven't played it, but I played this game quite a bit with some of his groups, and that is Zombicide.
Oh,
and not
nice.
specifically this version. This
Just
is
OG
just the version
Zombicide.
I happen to be borrowing. And yeah, OG, which means with the crappy ranged weapon rule, which
hey, listen, that rule doesn't exist anymore. When you play
I
it,
know.
you just play
And
with
later,
the girl.
after we heard about it, we did change our games. But we played, like, I played a lot of with Mo. He had a group that he was meeting with like every couple of weeks. I would go down and visit every few months, and we would play 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 player games of Zombicide. And you know, I liked the I like the cooperative nature of that game, and the table talk that you have to successfully pull off these missions. So I bet you guys are probably surprised by that one, because
It's a big boy.
I don't play a lot of games like that now.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, most of your games are like really crappy.
Well, guys, it's been fun.
No, stick around.
but-
Keep going, Dan.
No, Mo. Yeah, Mo loved him some Zombicide, and he found a group that enjoyed it too. And yeah, we played that game quite a bit. I mean, I played that game probably like 12 times within the first couple years I got into the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to talk about an experience. So, his group that he had there did not last very long. This was before I found my first regular game group. And there was this guy, I don't remember his name. I just remember we always called him GameStop guy because that's where he worked. And he only gamed with that group like maybe a couple times. And this is just one of the times that I had caught up with him. So we had this Zombicide mission, okay? And it was one of those ones where you had to go pick something up, and then you had to take it to an exit, and at least one person has to survive and everybody wins. Well, we ended up, getting to this point where we were split. We had one group that had chased the thing that we had to get, and we set back up with them. We had another group that was trying to hold zombies off. And so we had this split group, and one guy picked up a Molotov. And so as soon as he got the Molotov, you could see it was like everybody's gear started working in the same motion at one point. We're like, okay, what if we do a kamikaze mission? What if we just all horde into the middle, cut off the zombies from going into where the guys are with the thing they got to take back, because we had to make room for them. Like, they were going to be toast. We had so many zombies on the map. So we're like, okay, let's just go in the middle. Let's pull all the zombies in the middle, and then we'll all die and kill all the zombies with a Molotov. And we're all into it and just loving this idea, except for one freaking guy. This one guy was like, well, that means I'll die. And even though we explained, like, look, this is the only way we win as a team, this guy got butthurt because he was part of the group that died. And it worked, and the group got out. We won that scenario, but that was one of my first kind of big group game experiences. And this guy was being a dickhead basically about, he dies, but everybody's all in for this idea. And it was this epic story that we were going to talk about later. And Yeah, so that happens.
There's no negative to dying, right? There's not like you lose all your XP or something, right?
No, you survive the mission. Okay, on to
Yeah.
the next one. And
It's
it was
very
just
strange.
it was really stupid. And I'm kind of glad I didn't see that guy with that group that much more than that. But yeah, we played some fun games as Zombicide when I got in the hobby. I did never pick it up. But yeah, Black Plague is of course, the one that has the old kind of fantasy setting. So
Black Plague is excellent. It's a fun setting. Zombicide's a fun game with the right group. Obviously, not with GameStop guy, but you know.
Correct. But yeah, I had a lot of fun playing it. So what does that mean? Does that mean 5 minus 1 equals? He's disappointed in me this time.
You worked really hard to get to that 5 minus 1 equals.
Well,
really,
I know.
Yeah.
I was struggling to find like where it was, so I had to get filler in there, as you were.
So my number 4. So I started number 5 with a game that a lot of people don't know. And so my number 4 is going to go into a game that not a lot of people like. But Levi and I
grab this
together.
whiskey.
Levi and I put so much money into this game, and we loved it. And that is Talisman. This is one of the first games that we went into. We just, we had started playing games, and we had started seeing, how epic games could be now. And we saw this sitting on a shelf somewhere, and we're like, oh my God. This game is huge. There's questing. There's leveling up. It's like you fight monsters and they stay on the board until they go away.
It could take 6 hours to play.
It could take 6 hours to play. This is gonna be like Twilight Imperium. So we got Talisman and we got a bunch of expansions for it. I honestly love the way the expansions work for that game. The whole put them on the edges of the board and then you just walk into those areas from the main board and they become like, thematic new areas like a city and stuff. But Talisman is not a super loved game because it's very luck dependent. And at the end of the day, it's also kind of a roll and move game, and I totally get it. But I find the system there interesting enough. I have it on PC and I still go back and play it every once in a while because you can play it so fast on computer, and you just play against some AI. But basically you're a character and you are leveling up your character and you're going around the board. And you're basically just trying to level up as fast as you can so that you can be the first person to get to the center of the board and beat the boss. Like that's
the crown of power.
That's the basic premise of the game. Expansions change that. There's a whole expansion that changes the boss in the middle and blah blah blah. But I don't know. I still defend Talisman. I do not think it's a well balanced game, but it's fun, and that's all I care about. So yeah, I enjoy Talisman, and it was one of the first games, and probably the first big game that we went in on.
Yeah, it's a funny story. My stepmom, it was a captain in the Air Force, and she served in Britain. And in the early
this
90s,
is hilarious.
I know, right? In the early 90s, she busted out this board game, and it was a copy of Talisman that she picked up while she was in England. And
Nice.
It was an old Games Workshop version. And I was just like, what? And I became obsessed with it. So, Dan, I will always love Talisman as well. No, it's not the perfect game, but it's fun, right? Who cares? You have fun
Yeah, it's
playing.
similar
Who
to,
cares?
I always compare it to Betrayal at House on the Hill. It's
Sure.
not balanced, but it's dumb fun, and that's what I want sometimes.
I have still never played Talisman.
I've got the Batman version, and I gave I sold my nephew dirt cheap my copy of Talisman. And the rule though is if he ever gets rid of it,
Nice. the Batman one was interesting. I remember we had a lot of trouble with the rule book. Tim and I tried learning that, just the two of us, one night, and we were having, especially as two people who knew how to play Talisman, we were just having a hell of a time with that rule book.
He was talking about Talisman Batman.
Nobody's perfect. Yeah, I only played the Talisman Batman with Dan the one time. We kind of just muscled through it a little bit.
Yeah, I was just saying that we were having a rough time with the rule book on that.
Yeah, we were, and it didn't make sense because we know how to play Talisman. It shouldn't be that hard.
Exactly.
Should not be that hard. All right. Hot Mike, get your barf bag out, because my number 4, I'm pretty sure you hate with a passion.
Oh, I have it out.
I don't care, because this was a game that got my wife to play board games with me. Now she'd play Settlers a little bit, but she actually really liked Ticket to Ride Europe. It was there it is.
I almost had a spit take.
That's cool. That's cool.
All
right.
That was so amazingly well timed.
I knew you'd love it. All right. But yeah, no, Ticket to Ride Europe.
I'll put that away for now.
No, it's fine. I knew you'd hate it. When I was making my list, I'm like, oh, Mike's gonna lose his mind. But no, it was the first Ticket to Ride I played. It's my preferred version if I'm gonna play Ticket to Ride, because it uses the stations, and I actually like the stations. It adds a little bit of strategy to it. It also just, like, I don't know. It's fun trying to hunt down the European cities and everybody mispronouncing them. Calm down, Mike. Calm down. But no, and again, if it's a game that I can get played with my family and it's going to get on the table, then it's a game that I am playing. So Ticket to Ride Europe is my number 4. So go to town.
Great pick.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
I've never played Europe. I don't love Ticket to Ride, but I've always said that my pick is Rails and Sails. I like the strategy that one adds of having to split your pieces between trains and boats and having to manipulate and make sure your numbers are correct there. And I also just like that it's our region of America. Like South Bend is a location,
right?
On there. Like I just think that's cool. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't played it, Tim, so I'm sure it's great.
But yeah, I mean, whatever. It's fine. I haven't played it in years, but this is a list for games that we used to play. And I still own this one.
We get it, Mike.
Okay, so my number 4, this is the only game that I actually do not still have. I traded this game. I have played it. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Oh, wow. Tim,
look, an
we...
expansion. Yeah, the Netherlands.
You see that, Mike? He spent even more money on it.
Oh, man. Definitely wouldn't want to sneak this up there while he's not looking. Oh, whoops. So all right, my number 4, again, I don't have this game here. I traded it away, but I've still played it 20 times. This was the first deck builder that I was ever exposed to, and this is Marvel Legendary. Yeah, I played this one. What was that?
Dan was getting ready to do his equivalent of what you just did to me.
I was gonna cover my phone up because I thought you were gonna talk about Dominion.
Oh goodness, no way. Yeah, Marvel Legendary. That was my first deck builder. So yeah, I just, the thing that I liked about playing that game like multiple times. It was always trying to get like the highest attack score you could get. You know what I mean? Like getting those card combos and getting like the strongest, like getting those attacks that were in like the 30s or 40s. You know, like and always for that game had pretty good replayability. There was a ton of content for it. I remember
got piles of content for it. I love it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I had it for a while, but I don't really play it anymore. I traded away years ago, but I would still play that game to this day. I had so much fun playing that one when I first got started.
Yeah, it's a good game.
Nice.
I think I don't know. I think all the legendaries just go on a little long for me, and the setup and stuff is just a pain.
Yes.
But I mean, it's a good system for sure. I enjoyed the Firefly one, even though the art was just the worst thing ever made by a human.
Oh my god, it's terrible.
And the Alien one was fun. Marvel's fun. Yeah, they're good. I want to answer a couple things really quick. I wanted to say thank you, Nix, for being glad that I didn't drown in my water. Yeah. And I wanted to ask Jonathan really quick, and then we can keep talking because he can answer while we're talking. But he mentioned the 3 Ticket to Rides he has. Which one do you prefer then? Because Tim prefers Europe. I prefer Rails and Sails. And I'm wondering, you always talk about original a lot. Is that the one that you prefer out of the 3?
Oh, good question.
Honestly, that would be surprising to me just because compared to the other 2, I mean, I haven't played Europe. I've just watched videos on it. But compared to the other 2, original's a bit basic, and I don't mean that as an insult. I'm just saying, like, that's what I like about Rails and Sails is what it changes. So I'm just wondering.
Yeah, and as you know, I didn't like it. I think it's kind of boring. I think a lot of times it just devolves into draw cards, draw cards, draw cards, draw cards. So
again, that's
like
always been my problem.
Yeah, much shorter game. Not a huge
and also
Uno fan
not
anyway.
In any of our top 10s.
No.
Now, Dose, though.
Dose. Don't
Hell
get
yeah.
me started.
So now we're on to number 3.
Oh my god. So my number 3 is actually similar to my number 2 in the fact that it's about leveling up and it's not super balanced. And I even teased it because it's Betrayal. Betrayal at House on the Hill is, I think, the first game I bought when I got back into the hobby. And I still own it and I still play it. It's another game that gets hated on a bunch, and I just don't care and don't get it. It's so fun. Like, yeah, if you go, like, if you're like Bob, right, and you're like, things need to be extremely strategic, and I need to understand how to win every single time, and it's like, yeah, that's not for you then. But I just love the fact that I can play Betrayal, and this time that we're literally playing through Saw, and one of us is a hidden traitor who has a fake trap around their head, and we have to, like, go around and solve puzzles to get keys. And then the next time we play, the house is teleported to an alien planet, and it's slowly filling up with gas, and we're suffocating. We have to figure out how to teleport the house back to Earth. And then the next time we play, we're turned into mice, and the bad guys turned into a cat, and we're going around trying to escape the cat and, like, building a toy airplane so that we can fly out of the house. And then the next time we play, like, it's Frankenstein. And it's just, like, never the same thing. It's so fun. I love what that game offers you as an experience. The tile laying to build out the house feels good and different every time. The actual omen mechanic where you're rolling those dice every time you get an omen, and after a certain amount of time it'll proc, and then depending on the omen and room you got it in is the scenario you do. It's so clever. I don't think it gets enough compliments for how clever that omen system and dice system is, because it actually feels balanced. Like how long it takes actually feels good when that happens. And yeah, you can get unlucky, and you could technically have a haunt after like the second card, and it's like, okay, that would suck because we're not leveled up. Okay, then that means that game took 30 minutes. Play again. Like.
Well, sometimes that's good though, because that means the villain isn't leveled up either, though. You know what I mean? So
right, and it has an almost self-balancing mechanic built in because of that too, to where like if Tim's getting too high level, we need to like talk to Tim about, hey Tim, don't get too high level because if you become like, we can't let you get too high level because if you become the bad guy, we're screwed or something. Like it's almost like the group purposely tries to stay about the same level so that when the haunt is revealed, no one like runs away with it, because the villain doesn't want the really high level guy to be on the good guy's team either, right? So you have this kind of like self-balancing mechanic there that actually works pretty good. Again, at the end of the day, the haunts aren't balanced. They're just not. Every once in a while, you get one that feels perfect. Usually, they lean one way or the other, and especially dependent on which rooms are discovered and blah blah blah. That's the point of the game, to me. And I have fun almost every single time I play it. The Scooby-Doo one is interesting. The Baldur's Gate one I haven't played, but I've watched the video on.
It. Yeah,
it looks interesting. Yeah. So, Betrayal at House on the Hill. And Legacy. I only played the first 2 chapters, but Legacy was awesome too.
Well, I would love to try Legacy. Well, yeah, I would love.
I still have it just sitting in its box, man. Because after the second scenario, my group fell apart.
That sucks. That's a bummer, dude. Okay. Well, so question to everybody in the chat, I guess. Have y'all played? We know Jonathan has, right? We know Jonathan's played Betrayal at House on the Hill. But what about everybody else? Everybody else played that? Into it? Not into it? I'm just interested in your opinion, because I do have a 2nd edition copy in shrink to give away. Like it's not like the most tantalizing, giveaway. It's not like a Frosthaven, but if somebody wanted one, man, we would take care of you. I'd hook you up. Anyways, my number 3 is going to get Jonathan salivating because I think it's one of his number 1 games of all time. This was a game I'll never forget. I was on a trip with my wife and my newly born daughter in Louisville, Kentucky. We swung into a game store in Oxmoor Mall, which is out on the Hurstbourne side of town, if you know anything about Louisville. And I bought myself a big box copy of Carcassonne with the River. And my wife and I sat in that hotel room after my daughter would fall asleep and play Carcassonne on the floor and had a really good time with it. No, it's not the most amazing, mind-blowing game ever, but you know what? Easy to learn, inexpensive. We had a good time. And I played the crap out of it early on. And I just really like the tile drawing system and the way that when you're done, you have this whole city map, and then you can kind of, sometimes you're trying to like, see if you can't make it so that it's like one big river, like the river divides these 2 cities, come up with a story, afterwards. That's just us being geeks. But always had a good time with Carcassonne. I still own my Carcassonne. I won't get rid of it. Got a lot of nice memories with it. And yeah, it's a fun game. I enjoy it.
I'll say a couple things. First of all, we should have known when we asked Old Man Tim to come up with the list. It was literally just going to be the first modern games ever made. that's going to be his list. No, what I was going to say,
you're not far off, Dan. You're not far off.
Yeah. What I was going to say was this, though. Out of the 3, though, that you've mentioned, 3 classics, right? Ticket to Ride, Catan, and Carcassonne. I personally think Carcassonne is by far the best game.
Sure.
I don't love Carcassonne, but I still own it. I play it every once in a while. My brother just asked me the other day if we could play Carcassonne. Like, I think Carcassonne is a good, fun game. I don't enjoy playing the other 2.
So yeah. When I finish my list, you're going to have the same opinion.
Okay.
Mike.
So number 3, I'm so mixed up.
Come on, 3. Mike. You got to do yours.
Goodness. Okay, so number 3. Well, I had mine out of. This is why I'm mixed up. I had them out of order. I should have put Marvel Legendary as number 3 because I had played it 20 times. This game I have only played 15 times, but I think it was probably one of the first 10 games I bought and played quite a bit of, and that is Suburbia.
Oh yeah, classic. Good game.
Dude, I wanted to play this game so bad.
Yeah, Suburbia is a really solid city building tile laying game. And what I like about it is you've got kind of like an adjacency placement. So depending what stuff is next to the tile you place, you get a benefit off of that. It has its own benefit just for placing it. But then also how at the end of your turn, you've got an income track. You also have a population track. Every single turn, you're getting income and you're also getting points. It's called population. Well, as you get more of that, you're just residually, getting these points. As you go higher up the point track, it has a built-in catch-up mechanic on the actual victory point track, because after like every 10, every 8, every 6, it makes you go down 1 on each of your tracks. So and it's possible to hit multiple of these lines in one turn. So it makes your income and your population go down like 3 spots in one turn. So like it has a good catch-up mechanic, and the tile placement is fun. You're just using money to buy them depending how far they are up a market line. Just a really simple and good city building game.
No, really fun. I traded my copy of Suburbia, and I wouldn't say that I've regretted it, but there's definitely been times where it's like, oh, I should play. Oh, wait, I traded it. It's a good game. And I didn't trade it because I didn't like it. There was just other stuff that I had an opportunity to get my hands on. And I was like, oh, I guess I could part with this, because Suburbia is not like the hardest game to replace either. You know what I mean? So like sometimes that goes into my, will I let this go? Well, if I want it back, how hard is it to get, And
there's a better version of it now even. So.
Well, if you want to drop a lot of money on it, but yeah.
That's what I was going to say. So I haven't played this. I actually really want to. It looks interesting to me. I was this close to going all in on that deluxe Kickstarter.
Oh, wow,
I thought the game looked that good. And like I said, the only reason I didn't is because I haven't played Suburbia. And so I didn't want to spend that much money on a game that I might not like. But like I watched gameplays when that was on Kickstarter. I had the Kickstarter open like every day while it was live. And I was like, I want to back this so bad. Like I thought it looked so good. So yeah, I want to play that.
Still a solid game after all these years. I would definitely play it again for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, there's other games that like I could have put on this list that I played a lot, but I traded them away. Like Legendary was one of the first games I played, so I had to get it on this list. But like another one that I traded away that I didn't put on here is Russian Railroads, actually. I played a lot of that one. It was probably one of the first 20 games I purchased. It's probably one of the first 2 or 3 worker placement games I played. But yeah, instead I still had Suburbia, so that made the list. So wow. So now we're on number 2.
Hi. So I'm eating a cough drop right now.
Yo, también.
So my number 2 is actually, I believe, the second game I ever bought. Like I said, Betrayal was the first one. I believe this was the second one that I like solo bought, like without Levi and stuff like that. And it's actually a crossover, but not with any of you guys. It's a crossover in the comments.
Uh-oh.
Juicy.
And I actually have a couple with you, Jonathan. My number 2 is Dead of Winter. We have a crossover.
I swear to God, I just imagine Mike in his spare time is like the talk radio guys that got the goofy sound effects on like a soundboard.
Yeah.
And Mike is that guy just prepping all of these things so that when it comes up, pop it. He probably had that. We have a crossover for 6 weeks in here, loaded up, just waiting to have a crossover.
I have, actually. At least it's been in here for a hot minute.
Yeah. He's gonna have one where it's like Dan said mustard, and then it's gonna just pop up. Exactly.
Mustard.
Hold on, let me make one real quick.
I don't want to scream it. So yeah, it's actually funny. I could see that from an outside perspective, like people watching this might be like, these were Dan's first games. How is he still in the hobby? Because a lot of these are really poorly regarded now. Like,
Dead of Winter, a lot of people like, except for me.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of like bigger channels. I know Dice Tower doesn't like it, but I don't think Shut Up and Sit Down feels very highly about it. But this was, my first Hidden Trader game, I guess. I mean, Betrayal is a Hidden Trader game, but it's like not that kind of Hidden Trader.
Well, yeah, because you just don't know. It's only hidden from everybody. You know what I mean? And
right.
It's not.
Yeah, exactly. It's just no one knows who the trader is, and then everyone knows who the trader is all of a sudden. Yeah. So Dead of Winter is a zombie-themed survival game with actually a fascinating dice system. I really like it. Maybe fascinating is a strong word, but I really like the dice system in this game, where basically your characters have numbers next to their actions. So like it might say fight, 2, search, 4. And at the start of the round, everyone rolls their dice. You have like 66, and you roll your dice, and then you have a dice pool. And so in order to fight, you need to have at least, so my fight was 2, so I need to have at least a 2 or higher in order to, so the lower your numbers are, the easier it is to do that thing. So like if someone has a 1 fight, they can always fight. Like they'll always be able to use dice to fight. And basically, I'll also be honest, I have probably played this game, I don't even know. I probably played this game like 20 times. I have never played with the trader because all the scenarios, if you just flip them over, they have like an extra hard mode, where it just makes the scenario more difficult. You have less supplies, you have more things you have to do. And just play on that in full co-op, and the game is perfectly difficult enough. You don't even have to play with the Hidden Trader.
No doubt.
I have only played with the Hidden Trader.
Okay. But yeah, there's a colony area where everyone is, and then you send your survivors out to locations like the library, the store, the gas station. And if you don't discard a fuel to drive there, you have to roll a die. Thank you, Tim. I love having these kind of things. You roll a die, and that die has a chance to just instantly kill your character from an infection. So that's what a location looks like. There'll be a deck there. And the location also tells you what kind of cards are going to be there. So this location has fuel and tools and junk and stuff like that, right? Thank you. And weapons, so the police station. And then for each survivor at a location, at a round, and including the colony and everything, zombies show up. And so if zombies keep showing up at locations, it's going to be overrun. People will die. This game's all about surviving, killing the zombies, and trying to accomplish your goal within X amount of rounds before you automatically die or automatically lose. There's also a morale track. If the morale track reaches 0, you instantly lose, and you lose morale mainly by people dying. And then there are some, like, you can fail the missions because the way the trader mechanic works in this game is it's like a lot of other games where basically, this round's goal is we need to discard at least 7 food. And then people on their turn can discard cards face down to that thing, and then they all get shuffled together and you reveal. And if you have enough food, you pass. If you don't, you fail. So obviously traders can put cards in that aren't food, to make it look like, thank you, that's what a food card looks like. So you can put cards in that aren't it to make your team think there's enough cards in there to pass the mission, but there's not. I just honestly, there's 2 complaints that this game gets. People don't like the way the trader mechanic feels in this game, and I just say play without it. The game is perfectly fine without the trader mechanic, maybe even improved. And then the other thing that people don't like, and this is so nitpicky to me, but people don't like that everyone has a hidden objective in their hand, right? So like mine might say, end the game with 4 food in your hand, right? Or end the game with 1 of each type of item in your hand. If you do not do that secret goal, technically, you do not win the game with the rest of the players. Mm-hmm. So even if the good guys win the game, if you did not accomplish your secret goal, you lost, and the rest of the good guys won.
My favorite character.
Yep. Sparky right? He is immune to dying by the bite. He cannot be turned into a zombie.
Yeah.
What was I saying? So people's biggest complaint is they just don't like how that feels. It leads to an anticlimactic ending to where you're just like, oh, well, I just didn't get the cards in my hand I needed, so I couldn't win anyway. Just don't play that way. How many house rules do you guys do when playing games that change this tiny thing? You guys were just talking about Zombicide, right? You just house rule that shooting mechanic now in the first game because it doesn't make any sense and it dramatically increases the game. Yep. If you don't like in Dead of Winter the fact that those secret objectives make you lose the game, just don't do them. It doesn't change that much. It's not a drastic change. Right. I know that a lot of people may be hearing this and saying it just sounds like you're making the game too easy. Take out the hidden traitor, take out the hidden objectives. Trust me, play one of the harder scenarios and play on the more difficult side of it. The game is fine. It is perfectly difficult.
Game is hard enough
without all those things. Anyway, Den of Winter, I don't like love it as much as I used to, mainly just because I've played better Hidden Traitor games now, which is funny because I don't play Den of Winter as a Hidden Traitor game, but I've played better difficult co-ops. I've played better Hidden Traitor games now. And so it's just lower on my list. It wasn't in my top 50, right? But I just think it gets too much hate on nitpicky little things, just tiny things, especially because people will insult Den of Winter and then say like, oh, but I had a lot of fun playing what's the Knights one?
Shadows over
Camelot.
Yeah. And people will be like, I had a lot of fun playing that. I'm just like, okay. I just don't I guess you just hate the zombie theme that much because I don't get disliking such similar things. Again, to a degree. You can say I like one, I don't like the other. That's fine. But to say like, no, Shadows over Camelot's amazing and Dead of Winter's terrible. I'm like, why? What's the argument? I don't get it. But anyway, that's me. Crossover with Jonathan. It was his 4, I believe. It's my 2, and that is Dead of Winter.
All right. So my number 2. I know, Dan, get your barf bag. And I don't even really enjoy this game very much anymore, but we always acknowledge it for the importance of what it was. But this is the one on my list that I don't own anymore, and I have not played in probably 7 or 8 years, not long after I got rid of it. But that's Dominion. Early on. Yeah. Dominion was the first deck builder that wasn't Magic the Gathering that I played and was really impressed with it. But now there are games, obviously, that do similar things better. Like Dan likes to point out Arctic Scavengers, right? Legitimately a much better game. I've only played it the one time with Dan, but I thought it was really good. I had a good time playing it. I thought it was a really solid game. But Dominion is, just like whatever theme and very limiting and just not as enjoyable, right? I'd rather play Quartermain. Quartermain has a similar thing with you're limited with the actions that you can take based on the cards that you play, but it does a lot of other unique things that I find really interesting. So
sure. The way the theme leaks into Quartermain is cool for sure.
Yeah. So anyways, Dominion was fine then, 12 years ago, I was fine with Dominion. And it was an important game for me getting into the hobby because again, I used to play a lot of Magic the Gathering and stuff. So it's like, I love deck building. So naturally I want to play a game where I can build decks. This was before Marvel Legendary and stuff came out. And so, because otherwise that would be one, but I was in there, for a long, I was already in the hobby for a bit when I came to Legendary. So yeah, Dominion is my number 2. And again, I'm going these in order that I found or discovered them. So
yeah, I was gonna say I love that this is the list where Mike brings out the terrible pick and Tim is wrong stuff when it's just the first games I played. The skid list has nothing to do with Tim even liking these games.
Oh, it's just that Mike knew that I actually played Dominion before Carcassonne, and he's like, right. Terrible pick.
So he's Tim like, terrible.
Terrible pick. This list is invalid.
Oh boy. Okay, so
It's your number
like
2,
I
Mike.
said,
I know you get distracted.
yes,
by
no,
the
no,
time it
I don't
comes
know.
back
Maybe
around
it's
to you.
the counterclockwise thing that's getting me.
Yeah, the thing that you came up with.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I had shut up. I had mentioned how Rahdo run throughs. I watched a lot of those very early into the hobby, and he at the time, about 10 years ago, was really high on Stefan Feld games, and one of those
Who's that?
reasons was Castles of Burgundy, which I had owned and played a lot. But then I discovered there was an online version, and I started playing that more.
I just can't believe that Ron Burgundy
So
owned
then,
Castles.
out of games that are an hour and a half or longer, this is my second most played game of all time. Tim, what is it?
Bora Bora.
That's right. 2015's most played game right here. Bora Bora. This is an amazing dice placement game. I've talked about it in our top 10. I've talked about it in other videos, so I won't go at length. I love how cutthroat and mean this game is. I'll go into one other mechanic real quick.
Dan's killing me.
Hold on. I don't have amazing pick banner. I don't have that ready, unfortunately. So I guess the oddly timed mustard. So
Mustard.
yes. Yeah, so Bora Bora, just a great game. So this game, you roll 3 dice, you activate them, so you have basically 8 actions on your turn. At the end of the round, you get the opportunity to use a man action and a woman action. So like they're these additional actions you get at the end of your turn. You can use one of each. So during the round, you're like seeing which ones you can recruit, but you have to make room for them. So like you have these huts on your player board. You have to get the huts onto the board to make room for these men and women you put on your player board, and then you can use their actions, and you get these extra actions at the end of the round, and you can combo them together. Like if you have 2 of them that do the same thing, it'll double their benefit. So just again, another cool mechanic and an awesome game that I've been playing for so long.
Was this the game you said you weren't going to go into a lot of depth on?
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
So just to distract him from the point that he made. Yes, wrapping up extremely quickly, that is my second most played game of all time that is an hour and a half or longer. Bora Bora. So that means hey, that was quick.
I wanted to fit that in really quick.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played it. It sounds interesting when you describe it, and I don't dislike those older games like that. Again, Puerto Rico is fantastic. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely try it. I'm pretty sure Levi used to talk about that game a lot. I recognize the box. So my number 1 game when I got into the hobby, and this is slightly cheating for a couple reasons. First of all, it was probably more in the like 10 to 15 era. Like it's not one of my first 5 games, but it's early. It's super early, and it took over both my time and my wallet when I first started playing it. Levi and I, again, 50-50 on this. And the other reason it's cheating is because it's not a board game.
Cheating.
It is a miniatures game. Thank you, Tim. And that is X-Wing, the miniatures game. Holy crap. When Levi got into this, we got into it, dude.
It's amazing.
We had playmats. We had giant armies. I mean, we had the Star Destroyer. We had the Yavin, what's it called? The Yavin something. The first ship you see in A New Hope. I can't think of what it's called right now.
Yeah, the Corellian Corvette that is.
Yes, the Corvette. Yeah. I can't think of what its actual nickname is now.
Like Yavin 4 or something like that. No,
so that's
Yavin
what I wanted
5,
to say, but then I was like,
Yavin 5 is the moon that they're
yeah, that's the planet. Yavin 4 is the planet, but I swear it was something like that. But we had literally for a while, like for the first 2 like seasons of this game, we had every ship and we had multiple copies of most of them. I mean, we went all in on this. This is also only the second game in my life I've gone to tournaments for. Levi and I went to tournaments together and played this. We didn't do what great, but we went because we just loved the game that much and we loved the scene. And honestly, the best part of the tournaments to me, because it was kind of open form tournaments, it wasn't like you fight this guy and then the winner. It was more of like there's just a bunch of tables, you fight a bunch, and they're like keeping track of your win record and blah blah blah. The best part of going to the tournaments is because we just stood next to the tables and we watched the pros play. Like we were just like, oh, that's a fascinating ship build that guy has with those cards, and oh, I see the tricks he's doing. Like we were so into this game, it's insane. And I recently finally got Tim to play it, just once, but I finally got Tim to play it, and I thought we had a great time too.
I just loved it, Dan. Absolutely loved it.
And so while this is technically not in like my first 5, it's more like 10-ish probably, and it's technically not even a board game, I couldn't go without talking about this game to the point that I made it my number 1 because it just took over the hobby for us. It's all we did for a while. We had people come over to the house. We had pre-made builds. We had tournaments on Levi's table. I just can't talk about enough how much I think X-Wing, the miniatures game, is so worth playing if you like that kind of skirmish. That's the other thing, Tim. I don't like skirmish games. Nope, this one's amazing. This one's amazing. I love playing it. So yeah. Anyway, I won't go too much more into it. These guys want to talk about board games. But yeah,
I'm fine with talking about
miniatures rundown.
I think it's amazing.
I've never played it, so
so yeah. Anyway, no, I recommend it.
Awesome.
As you can tell,
X-Wing's awesome. Dan, I've been chomping at the bit for us to get back at it and play another round of it because I think it's great.
Just so time consuming.
It is. Uh-oh, look at that. Doom. Man, I've always wanted to play Doom. Only played Stone Age on the app. I love Ascension.
Lords of Waterdeep was really early for me, for sure.
Lords of Waterdeep would actually have been my number 6. But much to everyone that ever meets me's chagrin, my number 1. And like Mike said.
Hold on, let me get it ready.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you'll agree. Mike was like, oh, Bora Bora was my most played game of 2015. Well, the game I'm going to mention is probably my most played game of all time. It's probably my most played game every year because I play this either with my niece or other people that actually do like it, unlike my friends that I do shows with. And that is DC Deck Builder. I got into it way early. And I never looked back. Yeah, there you go, Dan. I love the game. It's a very basic and simple mechanic. You know, everybody gets an asymmetric power. You play cards from your hand. You know, they basically give you purchase power, which you either then buy cards out of the lineup or you beat the supervillain. Like Dan, I have gone and played in tournaments for this. You know, unlike Dan, I've won a few, but not every time. Not every time. But I also do like really.
Dang,
spent a lot of
shade.
Spent a lot of time though breathing this game in though, kind of like Dan with X-Wing, you know, where you just like, okay, so these are the good combos, these are the things, and like these are the strategies. You could pair this up, and but again, like I played a lot of Magic the Gathering and loved Magic. Now I never played Magic in like a tournament format or anything because I would play with like Bob and he would destroy me, and it's like I can't even step on the if I can't even get close to Bob, I'm not going to play a stranger and just get mopped up. But I got pretty confident with my DC Deck Builder. But, you know, the theme is easy. It's accessible. I got my niece playing it at a young age. So now, like, you know, she'll play it with me all the time, you know, like Thanksgiving. I've got friends that'll play it. And we could play it like, we could play 2 games of it like really quick. And not all the expansions are great, but most of them are pretty good. And they usually do something a little bit different. So I can also then just which version am I playing? Am I playing Dark Knight's Metal? Am I playing, you know, Heroes United, whatever? And it's a little bit, it's different enough that it doesn't get too redundant. And I've got the multiverse box, right? So it's got all of my stuff all in that box. It's nice and organized, but I take all the heroes basically from all the sets, and I've got the ones that are universally good, and I've got them all separate. So then when I do play, I don't just limit everybody to, oh, well, we're playing the first one, so you can only be these core heroes. Like, no, man, if there's a hero you like, you want to be Booster Gold or Blue Beetle or somebody weird like that, you know, like I got you. Let's do it. You know, you want to be Rorschach from Watchmen? Yep, right here. Here you go. So, you know, the guys like to give me a hard time about my love of DC Deck Builder, and that's fine. This was a game early on where I was like, oh, holy crap, a deck building game that I can get into and I don't have to keep buying booster packs for. Sign me up. Like, love it. Different combos. I try different things every time I play it still after all these years. You know, 11, 12 years into this game, and I'm still loving every minute of it. But yeah, this was probably the 5th game that I got into and then purchased. And then not long after that, I bought Lords of Waterdeep, and it was like really blew me away with like the worker placement aspect of it. And then the D&D theme was a plus for me, but yeah, but yeah, that's my number 1. So Mike, when you're done doing whatever you're doing,
coughing.
Oh, okay.
I honestly expected crossover on this. This is my most played game that is an hour and a half or longer. I've played this 26 times. I've played this so much. It was the first game that hooked me, and it is Lords of Waterdeep. I still love this game.
I hope that's an empty box, because otherwise all of your pieces just went to hell.
No, remember, this is actually my print and play Blood in the Clock Tower
Oh,
box.
that's right.
So,
that's right. Good deal. Because I started to like have palpitations watching some.
And I threw that insert away years ago. I hate that insert. I
bought a broken token insert for mine.
I just got a broken insert with the box. So but yeah, man, that worker placement mechanic, the first time I saw it, I was like, whoa, this is totally different than anything I've seen before. And there's a short-term tactical strategy, and then there's a long-term strategy, and then you can block other players, and then you got timing on if you want to grab an intrigue card, but then use a different worker placement spot later after the round's over. Just so many cool mechanics that I'd never seen before.
You're adding
buildings. Oh my gosh, the cool buildings that you can own. All the cards you can buy that have these cool abilities, and you can combo them off of each other, and you can have multiple abilities working off of each other. Man, I was blown away by that game. I remember the first time, yes, I had played Marvel before that. Yes, yes, I had played Descent before that. And yes, I had even played Zombicide before that. But when I played Lords of Waterdeep, it was like, okay, I know what kind of game I like. These kind of games. And that's where I realized what a Euro was. And, that's what I've been hooked on ever since. So, yeah, that was the one, man.
This also probably would have been my 6 or 7, like Tim said. It's definitely, it almost made it. Super close.
Yeah, like I said, I'd like to play it again. It's been a while. I've played it so many times that I can't remember what cards are available and which ones work off of each other. I still remember those combos. I've played it so much. Just a a comfort game. The only thing I don't really like is the setup, because you got to take out so many of the base game cards and then shuffle in so many of the expansion cards, and that's a setup mechanic that I don't particularly like that much. But still, Tim, you had this game in your 30s. I had it in my early 40s when we did our top 50. It's that was the one.
It's a great game. I love it, man. It's a great game. I absolutely love it.
So I'll play with you if we play it and Champions in the same day.
Ooh, that is a challenge right there. Wow.
Dan, you like Lords of Waterdeep, though.
Yeah.
Why are you making me play a game I don't like?
Because I'm trying to educate you.
Oh boy. Here we go.
So that rounds up our top 5 games that we played the most when we got into the hobby. I did earlier mention that I wanted you guys to bring some honorable mentions. Dan, what kind of honorable mentions do you have up your sleeve?
Not much.
I have another one I want to grab.
Okay. I really don't have much. He asked me that, and then I was in the middle of playing games with my family, and I just that's what I was dedicating my time to.
So Dan, you could literally not name any and I'll just be like, those were great picks, Dan, when he
Yeah,
comes
the
back,
second
because you
Mike
can't
gets
hear it.
back, I'll go,
Yeah.
and that was all of my honorable mentions.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Exactly.
That'd be good.
No, obviously, like I said, Lords of Waterdeep is one that I would have mentioned. Is that a llama? Okay. And that is, I think I went through 8 honorable mentions. I think
They were
those are the
all
ones I'd
really
have to
good.
list.
Oh, wow.
They were all good.
They sound excellent.
No,
we don't
but really,
believe you,
I only had 2. And one is again kind of a cheat, only because it was before my modern jump into gaming. I said that I
Yes,
wanted my
sir.
5 to be my modern jump into gaming. This one is before, but I just wanted to talk about the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Yeah, boy.
I have
I'm
no
a
idea
Yu-Gi-Oh
what's
kid.
going on right now.
I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh kid, and I still have some cards from when I was younger. And I don't play because I don't know anyone that plays. Yu-Gi-Oh shaped my childhood. Not only because I liked the show, but yep, cheating. Thank you. Not only because I liked the show, but because I loved the card game. That's, by the way, that's the other thing I went to tournaments for. I was talking about X-Wing earlier. When I was very young, I went to some Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments. Again, not really my thing. I didn't do great, but that's because I played casually and I just wanted to go to a tournament because I thought it'd be cool. But then, like, everyone at the tournament is so freaking good at the game. I'm like,
it's scary.
they're like playing cards I've never heard of before, and I'm like, oh my god, what is this? Anyway, literally, I didn't really have a whole lot of time to grab a bunch of honorable mentions and like go through my mind and stuff. So the only 2 I really had were Lords of Waterdeep and Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm sure I could just list other games that I played early on, but I wouldn't have much to talk about, and it just wouldn't be interesting, I think.
It wasn't anyway.
I know, Mike. Thanks for your llama chest.
No doubt. No doubt. You should have heard all the ones Dan listed before you sat down. They were all way better. No, Lords of Waterdeep would have been my first honorable mention. I would throw back to one of the games that as a kid for my childhood was Hero Quest. I played a lot of Hero Quest when that first came out. And I played it by myself, you know, like just I played it with whoever, and then I would sit and mess around with it on my own. Was obsessed with that game. I was probably like 10 or 11 when first Hero Quest came out. And then, you know, we've talked about it before, but like Nightmare, you know, I used to love that. The VHS game. It's a roll and move VHS game. It's a total goofballs. Getting a little more modern into the 90s. Played Magic the Gathering a lot, and also Warhammer tabletop miniatures. Really enjoyed that. Can't paint for crap, but I had friends that were into it, and I love playing with them. And then the game, though, that really should have been like a real indicator that I was gonna just dive into this hobby head first is I was at the Griffin, which is a local game store, looking up role-playing game books, because that's what I went there for, was RPGs, but they have board games there. And there was a board game based on a series of books that I was at that time obsessed with, and that is a Game of Thrones, the board game. It's the first time I spent over $50 on a board game, and we got that game, and me and my roommate, who is the guy who actually introduced me to those books, we played the crap out of that with anybody we could get to sit down. And then lo and behold, a few years later, you know, I'm actually getting into the hobby full steam, and I'm like, wait, what? You know, Arkham Horror was another one that was early on that I bought and got into. But yeah, those are just some of the few. But Game of Thrones was huge for me. Huge for me. Territory control, the way you issue those commands. Second edition is much better than first edition. I still have my first edition and all the expansions for it. But they're not even on my game shelf. They're actually like in a tote put away. And I just have second edition out on my shelf just because I need the real estate. And, you know, second edition does everything I needed to do, so I don't need to go and dig out like the first edition and stuff. But man, Game of Thrones, so flipping good, even back then.
Okay, so Yeah, I basically, my honorable mentions, I stuck with games that I bought when I was relatively new to the hobby. This is actually after I bought Lords of Waterdeep. This was probably, I'm pretty sure this was the second game I bought. And as you know, this is also a small box game, and that is Sentinels of the Multiverse. Yeah,
Looks pretty small to me.
It had a similarity to Marvel Legendary, which I, of course, had mentioned earlier in this list, was another one of my gateway games. I was able to find it cheap, and it gave me a similar feeling, but I liked how every character had their own dedicated deck. And I thought that was cool, like you already knew what combos were available for you in your deck, and you just kind of hope that they came out in the right order. The cooperative nature, again, to that game was always fun. Another small box. But yeah, I've gotten a good amount of plays out of just this base box of Sentinels of the Multiverse. Like I said, probably the second game I bought.
It's pretty small box.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I like that Sentinels can be in my small box and big box list next to that box.
Oh my gosh, this box is huge.
What a fantastic game. That's actually one I have downstairs right now. Planning on playing it again pretty soon. Just wow. Talk about a game where the characters feel so asymmetric and so thematic. I love watching someone, not even playing it myself, but watching someone play Tachyon, basically the Flash of this game, and watching them just go through their deck just over and over, and I'm still like halfway through mine, and I'm like, dang, you fast. I love how thematic they feel, man.
And
it's
the
so
decks
cool.
feel so different. I remember liking, I want to say it was Haka, and Haka had a charge up ability where he could tuck cards underneath him, and then when another card came out, it would unleash damage for every card you tucked. I think, love that game. Played that one quite a bit, but yeah, the decks felt very different from each other for sure. Another one, this was, I don't know, this might have been more within like my first 25 buys, but I did play a lot of Patchwork.
A good game. I like Patchwork.
Yeah, I played this one quite a bit. This was when I knew that I was getting into this hobby, and I wanted to find games that I could show to more people. At the time, I just had, Sentinels, and I had Marvel Legendary, and I had Lords of Waterdeep, and there were just only so many certain types of people you could show those games to. You know what I mean? I needed something that was more palatable that I could get I was trying to get other people into the hobby. Like, hey, I'm going down this rabbit hole. I need some games to find some people to go along with me. And I got a lot of people to play Patchwork with me.
Never played it, mainly just because I'm not into 2-player games, so I just never gave it a shot. I did recently watch No Rules Barred had a gameplay of it, and it looked good. It looked interesting. I just don't seek out 2-player games.
It does that time mechanic you like, Dan, where you get so far, and it's the first game I played that did that, and then I played Australia later. And
I tend to like polyomino games because they're like spatial and stuff. I tend to like that spatial puzzle. It's just that theme does freaking nothing for it to me. That theme is stupid.
Dan?
Yeah, no, I don't. Mike, no.
No, Dan, I think it's worth 20 minutes of your time to give it a shot just to see what you think.
It's a lot of fun.
I mean, literally, that's what it is. It's literally 20 minutes of your time. And I like the way that you pick your piece, because you're moving that marker around basically, and then you're and
that was something that was cool really hard to understand while watching a gameplay of it. Is like they would move the piece and they have access to the first 3 pieces, it looked like, after the piece, but like how much they cost and how much time they cost, I didn't understand where it said that. Like they just kept saying like, I'll take this piece and that cost me 8 buttons and 4 time. And I'm like, and where does it say that? It was so hard to follow that in like video form.
Dan, if you were into quilting, you would have totally understood.
That's true. It makes perfect sense then.
Perfect sense.
I'll play Mike for his copy. How about that?
That sounds good. It sounds good. And Dan will give you an empty water bottle if you win.
I'll throw another
honorable
mention
man
in here. So again, another game that like I knew I wanted to find more people to get into this hobby with me, buying light games I could teach to people. One of my most played games. I have played this game 50 times, and that is Splendor. This box is so beat up. This side is taped together. Every single corner is busted on this box. It has just been taken everywhere. It's been everywhere, man. But yeah, I've played so much Splendor when I got into the hobby. I will still play Splendor, but I've shown it to so many people that have loved it.
Now that Dan's gone, we could talk about how good Splendor is. I'm so glad Dan finally left. Oh, wait. Oh, he's back. I like Splendor quite a bit. I actually really want to try the Marvel version and see what they do differently.
Me too.
But
I'll do one last one. This was my first step-up game. Well, not true. Bora Bora was a step-up.
So, like, Channing Tatum was in this game? Or isn't he in the step-up?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So Bora Bora was quite the step-up. Loved it. Want to try another step-up game. And that was Terra Mystica. Oh, man. I remember playing the game wrong, like, I think 3 times before I got it right. Like, it was definitely heavier than anything else I had played at that time. It was. But
I've
once
got an
I finally
unplayed copy of that somewhere.
Got it down, and I got to play it with – that's not good at 2. And really, the more the merrier. It's fine with 3, but 4 and 5 is where it shines. But yeah, Terra Mystica is a great game. As you can see, I have the Fire and Ice expansion. I
played it pretty early on, but it was someone else's copy, and it didn't leave a mark. It was okay.
Now, Mike, before we do wrap up or say goodbye or whatever, if we're heading that way, I did make my games that begin with whiskey list that I could run through real quick, since I was sick and missed out. I mean, I watched like the first half of yours before I bailed. So what, you want me to save it, or you want me to?
It's up to you. Let's hear them. Let's go ahead and hear them.
Okay, so I could have wrote Wayfarers of the East Tigris because that game blew me away, but I've only played it once.
It's also South Tigris.
Oh yeah, one of those. Listen, the way that those games are named is it's like a thing, and then like a direction, and then a location.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, it's an occupation, and then a direction.
But the body of water.
Wildlands is my W. That is a Martin Wallace one that I enjoy quite a bit. My H, I wanted to write Hate because I played Hate a lot, but my H, if I'm going to be true to myself, is Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea.
Yes.
If Dan was listening, my H would be Happy Salmon. But no, like legitimately, it's there. It is. Legitimately, it is Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea.
Yeah. If I had that box here, it would have been my H as well, for sure.
I think you and I have the same I. It is a game that blew me away this year, and it is definitely going to be on my new to me list when we bang that out. New to me in 2022, and It's a Wonderful World.
Oh my gosh.
Just a fantastic engine builder that I just fell in love with, and I cannot get enough of. It is such a good freaking game, man. So good.
It's on the way. I already have the expansion. I'm waiting on base game. I wanted to be able to play with 7 players and have all the stuff.
Yeah.
So nobody in our group has everything for it. So
I just have base game.
Yeah, I want to play that game again so bad. It's so fun. Great choice.
My S, I wrote down 7 Bridges because that is one of the first roll and writes that I really enjoyed. But if I'm going to be true to myself, it's Sentinels of the Multiverse. That's my S.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's funny because we spent all that time talking about Sentinels, and I'm like, if I talk about my whiskey, it's going to be. It's gonna be on there.
Let's go see if I can get Dan while he's off camera.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
Yeah, we have crossed the Rubicon. Dan has lost his damn mind. My K. My K might also be. We might have had crossover on the K. King of Tokyo. I don't remember. I think I fell asleep after It's a Wonderful World. King of Tokyo.
I did not choose that one.
Is my K. I get to
Nice.
I enjoy playing that game with adults. I enjoy playing that game with my kids. It's a ton of fun. Thanks to friends of the show, I got King of Tokyo, the Dark Edition. And yeah, man, have fun in Cincy. Go Bengals.
You too, Knicks.
And then my E is Everdell. I just played Everdell for the first time.
I still haven't played.
And I thought it was really good. And I couldn't think of a bunch of other E games that I was like, Everdell's good enough. Oh, I guess Escape from the Aliens in Outer Space. Escape from Aliens in Outer Space. That would be my E. That one's pretty fun because everybody's moving around with their dry erase board and you're drawing a card and it basically tells you if you make noise or not. And if you're in a lit area, you have to draw a card. And then you're like, you may have to tell them where you're at or you may get the lie. And it's pretty fun. Because you don't know who's trying to kill you or not. And then my Y was the game that you hadn't played that I commented, and that is Yido. That is it is similar to Lords of Waterdeep, but with a Japanese theme, and it's got this really interesting mechanic where different areas of the board are like patrolled by the police, so you don't want to be caught in those areas because then your workers will go to jail, and then it requires like specific events that will Rob Silver's got me. It's something special has to happen for you to get all your workers back. So Yido was pretty interesting. Okay, Equinox, Ginger, yeah, Jonathan. I haven't played Eldritch Horror, but I could have said Elder Sign, but I think out of all of those, Equinox would be the one I might love more than.
We perfectly timed. We have lost Tim. Right when he wraps up his Y, of course. Hey.
I think I already told you guys, but I just taught It's a Wonderful World to some family the other day, and it went over really well too. Just a good game.
So good. It's so good.
I was so hoping that it was going to deliver tomorrow. I think my parents would actually really like it. I wanted to play it with them Sunday, but it's not going to be here till like Monday.
But that's my list. That's my whiskey. Not too bad.
Good choices. I mean, if you didn't have Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea and It's a Wonderful World, might have slapped you.
Fair. I would have deserved it.
But you do not.
I'd let you borrow it, but I don't think you'll be on this side of town.
I mean, you do not deserve being slapped because you, my friend, have survived the blizzard of 2022. As have we all, to bring you this list, which, I mean, hey, that's why we had to humper down in our basements because we didn't know if we were going to survive this day.
Listen, I'm just glad
in the dead of winter,
everybody is still here, alive and safe, and hopefully has power.
Yes, that is true. That is one bad thing about all this wind. You can definitely lose power. Fortunately, I haven't heard of really hardly any power outings, so that's great.
Knock on wood.
That sucks. So, all right, guys. Well, unless you guys have anything else that you want to add on to tonight's stream, I think that's going to wrap up our Flashback Friday. Dan, thanks for joining us tonight.
Yep. No problem. Oh, I was going to say we should
very enthusiastic.
I don't think we've done this yet because we just did 5 games that got us into the not that got us into hobby, like our 5 first games or whatever, or early games. I don't think we've done yet, at least not in this format, the 5 I don't even know how to word it, the 5 stepping stones for us, 5 games where when we played them we were we just entered a new, kind of like what I said for X-Wing, where I was that it entered me into a whole new play set of games, Dan the Mustard Man. Not the best nickname I've ever had, but I'll take it.
Also not the worst.
But yeah, that's true. But like, I don't know if it'd be interesting to do like the 5 games that like changed us as gamers. You know, I don't know if we've done something like that.
Huh. I think there's definitely
It's-
that was a life-altering game of Happy Salmon that I played earlier this
Yeah,
year. I will say.
basically nobody will play games with me anymore, so it was life altering.
Yeah, and I finally realized what I thought board gaming had a bottomless pit. I was wrong. I had found the bottom. So,
Oh, my friend, what depths I have to show you.
Yeah.
So
I
I
have
was glad
such sights to show you.
reach that accomplishment this year.
I'll
So-
do better next year. I promise.
You opened it.
The neoprene fish. You opened it. I slapped you.
And as always, thanks everybody who's been in the comments all night. Again, you guys are what make this. It is definitely no fun without having all of the participation from you guys in the comments. So thank you for all of that. And
Yeah,
I believe.
And thanks for putting up with all of our coughs. We're clearly all getting over stuff. And we're probably going to try to do a live again this weekend, either Sunday or Monday. I know that's Christmas evening, but usually Christmas night, all my stuff's done with, right? Everybody's like partied out from all the Christmas stuff. So we'll just see what everybody else has got going on and if there's any interest. But we would love to do another one of these lives sooner than later.
Yeah, I'm
that
actually
means we
doing
have
Christmas.
to.
Sorry, Mike.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm actually doing Christmas breakfast this year, so I'll be available most of the day.
Cool.
That
Cool,
means
cool,
we
cool.
have to come up with a topic for Sunday. I guess we're sipping on Sunday, fellas. Whoa!
Oh boy. Mike,
You know, Mike, my whole life I've been a gigantic fan of alliteration, and you're starting to ruin that.
Well, I mean, I just thought it was a cool idea, I mean, a few weeks back, Tim did a live stream. It happened to be Wednesday. He happened to be drinking Wednesday. He happened to be drinking whiskey on a Wednesday. And I just happened to go, that sounds like a pretty cool idea. And here we are on Flashback Friday. And maybe sipping on Sunday.
Sipping on Sunday, which is really fun because Mike just wants to find an excuse to drink, which, Mike, you don't need one. You can do whatever you want.
That's true.
And then Dan doesn't drink at all. So, it's perfect.
I've never
it's a great
drank
combination.
anything in my life.
Ever. He's so dehydrated.
All that water earlier. Yeah, this is me dehydrated. Oh, I'm so muscular right now.
Dan melting away on the planet Arrakis.
Yeah, that is true. Well, really, it just wears. Dan, what he does is he pretends like he's on the planet Arrakis. He pees in his clothes and then he just drinks it because that's how the still suits work.
I mean, you don't have to drink your urine, but it's sterile.
I like the taste. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, we have definitely crossed the Rubicon. Well, guys, this has been awesome. Thank you for coming on and doing this tonight.
As always, guys, a blast. Good chance of us seeing you again on Christmas. For the board game rundown, I used to be Mike.
I'm still Tim.
And I'm Hot Dan.
Oh, he's stealing it from you, Mike.
You son of a. I'll see you next time.